are 6 weeks away from Star Wars Celebration, which means we are 6 weeks away from Andor Season 2, Andor: A Star Wars Story, Season 2. And we are excited to talk about all of that and more. So welcome, everybody, to the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John. Got Lacey here with us as always. Lacey, how we doing?
I'm good. I can't believe we're almost a month away from this. We
Yeah.
say that every time when Celebration comes up, by the way, we're always like, how did this happen so quickly? And then it's here.
I feel that way just since having kids with everything. Like,
Yeah.
it hasn't registered with me that spring is in 2 weeks. Like, it's March, you know, that type of
Daylight
stuff.
savings this weekend.
Yeah,
Ready to lose some
all good
sleep.
stuff. Warming up. I heard it's going to get into the 60s later this week. Very excited about that. But Lacey, Star Wars heating up a bit as we march towards Celebration. You know, news is going to be heavily focused on Celebration. So we are going to talk about those panel reveals. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff in Resistance Report. But before we get into anything, just thank you to everybody who's been listening or watching the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the pod on your favorite podcast app, whether that's Apple, Spotify. We're on all the places, Amazon. TRB is there for free, so subscribe. You get the weekly episode. And then also, of course, Lacey will get into Patreon in a little bit. But for social media, TRB podcasts across the board as well. Blue Sky is where we've been hanging as far as Resistance transmissions, Ask the Resistance, and we will be doing Ask the Resistance transmissions later in the show. And then, of course, Nerdy and Nice, our pop culture podcast, which comes out on Mondays. We talk about all the other things that we like to nerd out about outside of the galaxy far, far away. So if you haven't checked out Nerdy and Nice, it's us just talking about all the other cool stuff we like to talk about in movies, TV, and pop culture. So follow Nerdy and Nice, subscribe to it on its own feeds, and then Nerdy and Nice pod on social media. Lacey, to kick things off, our good dear friend who we love, who we will be hanging with in Japan, Clayton Sandell, is at it again. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to Clayton's Substack. You can subscribe free. You can also support him on there. But a little nugget on Clayton's Substack. So, Industrial Light and Magic's matte painter, Caroline Jet Green, included George Lucas in the archway in the Theed Palace on Naboo at the top of the archway when Amidala and everyone is being surrounded by all the droid decas, the destroyers.
Before the Batman move where she used the Gatling gun to go up the window.
Yeah, so at the end of the hallway, beautiful matte painting. And you could now see it anywhere when you look on social media, wherever. It's like blowing up everywhere. So congrats to Clayton for getting that out there to us. Very cool nugget that I had never known about, and I don't think I've ever heard about. But there's George Lucas's face right at the top of the archway there. So George Lucas, the maker, in The Phantom Menace forever, and that was amazing. So great stuff as always by Clayton. He's always going down the beaten path and finding these things, like Pink Shorts Guy when he did that piece, or the Jake
he's
Lloyd
a fan,
stuff he did recently.
He's writing about stuff that he would love, which is always makes it better.
A fan and a great journalist, and you put that together, and he's a pros pro and one of the best. So Clayton, once again, great job. Make sure you follow Clayton's Substack, subscribe to that, because I'm sure he's just getting started there. But this is a very cool one, right, Lacey?
It definitely is. And I just, for people on video don't know, I just like, don't know what I did with my hands just then. I was like,
I don't know what you did there.
It was like I was a seal.
Delicately catching a balloon without popping it, maybe?
Yeah, now that you say that, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. I don't know. But I'm very excited for him. And I am a follower, fan, subscriber to a Substack. And I saw the email today and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I signed TRB up as well, so we'll get those updates so we can make sure we talk about all those fun things on the pod in the future. Lacey, our lives are crazy and stuff, so we haven't gotten around to this stuff. But I think it's important for us to bring up that Marvel's The Rise of Skywalker issue 1 is finally out, as well as the long-delayed, that was supposed to come out about over a year ago, the Qui-Gon Jinn graphic novel, which is going to touch on periods of his life. Obi-Wan's going to be in there, and it takes place like 3 years before The Phantom Menace, but jumps around to different periods in Qui-Gon's life in a connection with a certain group of Force users who could be potential allies or potential adversaries. So I like graphic novels. That one I might check out. The Rise of Skywalker one, I may follow along to see what people are posting about with it, to see if there are,
there's a lot of Kylo moments.
Fill in the gap stuff that could be fun that we're gonna obviously wish was, in the movie and stuff like that. But those are out, so if you aren't aware, check those out. Rise of Skywalker from Marvel issue 1 and the Qui-Gon Jinn graphic novel. So starting fresh from the beginning, it's always a good spot to jump into. So check those out, and certainly if I get a chance to check those out, or Lacey,
maybe
we'll
on your
talk about it
flight.
on the pod. That's an option. Yep. I also have that Batman book I have to read too. I started it and then I gotta pick it back up. But yes, that is that, and now it is time to get into the meat and potatoes, and kicking things off in the spirit of Andor, from Rogue One, our little friend Chirrut Imwe.
I fear nothing, for all this as the Force wills it.
We're back with Will of the Force. So for those of you that don't know, this is a great segment that kind of brings up will they, won't they scenarios. And the best part about it is that it lets our patrons be part of the show. So if you're interested in supporting us here outside of just watching, liking, reviewing, etc. on social media and sharing us on all the platforms, you can be a part of our community on Patreon at patreon.com/TRB podcasts. Starting at just $5 a month, you get to be a part of the community there, engage with us, part of mini episodes. And as you go up in the tiers, you get more access, like our Discord server and much more. But this is one of the ways that you can be a part of this, which is supporting us through questions. You give us some topics to talk about, and we give you a shout out and we discuss it. So kicking it off this week, we have a Patreon submission from Commander Semperfi Dani. What up, Dani? And I know that she always listens with her husband, Mark. So I say, and
hey guys.
Of course. She asks, will Galen Erso appear in Andor? So as we said at the top of the show, this episode and probably the next few weeks leading into Celebration are going to be very Celebration Andor heavy. John, what do you think?
Yes, Mads Mikkelsen will return. He can't let his brother get all that Disney Plus money, being Thrawn. So I think somewhere in the final quadrant, episodes 10 through 12, Galen will appear to help bridge that connection to Rogue One. Now, it's going to be tricky because by that time he may have already left. He probably already did leave. But I still have a feeling he's going to appear. And we know Star Wars is not adverse to flashbacks. But being that the Death Star construction and the fact that, Cassian himself was technically a part of building the Death Star now, you got to imagine the designer who ultimately planted his trap has to make a little appearance, because I think it would make sense. And I would love to see him, because by the time we saw him, it was sort of the epilogue of his story, So I think it'd be cool. I don't think we're gonna see Jin, but I think Galen. What do you think, Lacey?
I actually don't think we will. I am happy with how he's introduced in Rogue One. And I think it's a great introduction to not just his character, but to Jin's story as well. And she's truly connected to her father. That I feel like if they have him in the show, which by the way, I would love regardless, but if they do have him in the show, that it's going to play into the too many details, like too much background that we talk about sometimes with Star Wars, that everybody wants to know every single detail about every single character and what happened here and what was this and what was this conversation. And I don't know if it's needed. I think that you can have Krennic be a part of the show and discuss Galen and discuss the work that's happening without telling you who Galen is or showing him on screen. Because then it also gives his moment and more kind of, I guess, weight to Jin's story in Rogue One if you wait to see her father and who's creating, this situation or having such a big impact on the rebellion ultimately if you see them later. And it also leads to the tension of, what are they going to do? This thing is being made. There's nothing that could stop it. And then you find out in Rogue One, it can be stopped, and it was being stopped. But I might be totally wrong. So I guess we'll see.
That's a good point, because like Rogue One, like Tony Gilroy, I think he was pretty clear. He was pretty involved, especially with the final acts of Rogue One. He likes making the puzzle pieces fit, and I think he's going to do that with Rogue One. He already spoiled the fact that it's going to end with Cassian arriving at the Ring of Kafrene. So I could actually see, I'm sort of like seeing what you're saying, like we see Krennic and then an officer comes up to him like, Director Krennic, we scouts are back from planet Lamu. We think we may have located Galen Erso. And then in Rogue One, we see him go to see him. So that could be, you're right, that could be the case. So maybe, I don't want to change my answer because I already put it out there and I want to see him. But
at the same time, in Rogue One, there is that scene of him on Coruscant talking to Krennic. This is supposed to take over the place over how many years? Like 4 years, right?
This is 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. So it could be in that 4 years he hasn't gotten away yet, and we do have that meeting scene of them in Coruscant where he's talking.
Well, I don't know, because Jin was so young in that clip.
Oh, that's
so
right.
That was probably way further back. But flashbacks, Rogue One had them. There's no reason to think that Andor won't have them. I mean, Andor had flashbacks of him as a kid. It's very possible they touch on Galen a bit. But I could see them doing that thing where they're like, "Oh, we've located, Galen Erso."
We'll see.
He's like, "Bring my shuttle," or "Alert my Star Destroyer to prepare for my arrival."
Next is a Patreon submission from Admiral Kyle Baker. Kyle Baker, what up, man? He asks, "Will Ludwig?" That one's for Mick. The Ludwig. Goranson return to score the Mandalorian and Grogu movie after handing over the reins to Joseph Shirley for season 3. John.
Kyle, surely you can't be serious. Yeah, definitely. I think he did an interview last year where he was asked about it, and he said he would absolutely love to do it. So my guess is he is definitely going to be the composer for this movie. 100%.
I agree with you. I think he will too. He's just been very busy. I mean, even when we interviewed Mick and talked about it, he was talking about how busy he is, and he was just doing the latest. I'm blanking on his name. He did Oppenheimer, and then he just did the soundtrack for the vampire movie that's coming out with Michael B. Jordan. He did that too.
Sinners.
With Ryan Coogler, and
yeah,
if you're looking at jobs that are coming up, as Ludwig is, it's like, do I want to do a TV show or do I want to do a movie? And if the movie comes up, he's going to take the movie. Like, why would you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Joseph, even though he did a great job, it was just kind of a stand-in while the other guy was busy.
Yeah. I imagine Kyle feels the same way.
Yeah. Then we have another Patreon submission from Admiral Jeremy G. Wolf King 2010. What up, Jeremy? Who is our fantasy football winner? He asks, will Bail Organa mention his daughter at any point in the next season of Andor? John.
You go first.
Will he mention his daughter at any point? Yes. I think that's an easy thing to do. We've seen him, I believe, the back of his head in a scene with Mon Mothma in some of the teaser trailers montage stuff. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't they? She could just literally be like, how's Leia? Or how's your daughter? And he could be like, oh, she's doing great. Like, it's such a casual thing. So I'm going to say yes. But not in like a very like big moment way. It's going to be like a throwaway. Kind of what everybody's been saying with Tarkin in our Patreon exclusive video, which will be coming out in the next week.
I'm going to say no. Only because
why is that? Too many cooks in the kitchen?
Well, no, because I feel like I've been putting all the cooks in the kitchen lately with this show, but
you've literally been like, get in there.
Yeah, it's Gordon Ramsay. But
It's Hell's Kitchen in there. There's
yeah,
two teams. They're competing with each other.
I'm going up to Cyril Karn with 2 slices of bread, like idiot sandwich.
I love Gordon.
Only because he does that already at the end of Rogue One with that line, like, I trust her with my life. And it's like, that's not alluding to Leia. If they did it again in Andor, it would just be like, all right. And then we already got,
I thought you like a good bookend.
I do like a good bookend, but I don't like the book to have 2 ends. So he probably will, but I'm just gonna say for whatever reason he's gonna be too in the mix with what's going on in that moment that I don't think he's gonna mention her, because the reason why he mentioned her in Rogue One is because she was going to be contributing and helping, but in terms of getting Obi-Wan. But here, like, unless there's a reason, I don't know why he would be like, oh, my daughter would be so helpful here. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, because they did it in Rogue One and it was a nice little cute little reference there, I don't think they're going to do it again.
All right.
Like, can Bail exist without talking about Leia? That's what's going to
probably not.
Yeah, right.
Probably not. Patreon submission, last one, Commander Abigail Sky. What up, Abigail? Thanks for your question. She asks, will we see any Bothans in Andor season 2? You guys went hard with these Andor questions this week. John, I'll let you start.
No.
The
for 3 reasons. One, I think out of all the Star Wars shows, we can all agree, although this season looks like they may have course corrected a little, creatures and aliens are at a minimum in Andor. 2, I don't know that Tony Gilroy would care enough to be the person to give that to fans who have been clamoring to see Bothans in canon on screen. And 3, because the Bothans were involved with the second Death Star, not the first Death Star. So they may still be like, look, we're not sure which way this whole war is going to go, so we're going to wait back a bit. And then once the whole thing happens with the first Death Star, they're like, all right, we got to get involved here because they're building another one of these. And we just can't deal with it. We gotta get our Bothan rear ends in gear here and fight the Empire. So I say no to Bothans appearing in Andor. But I really love that question, Abigail. So thank you.
That is a great question. I'm going to go about it a little differently. I agree with everything you said. I don't think they will. We will not see any. Because I think it's become a joke now with Lucasfilm and with Star Wars in general that we're never going to see them. That's never going to happen. It's the unspoken line that every fan, going back to what I said earlier in this segment, is looking for an answer for, details for. And I think it's become such a big kind of joke that no matter what they end up doing, it's never going to be exactly what every fan expects it to be and wants it to be, that they're just not going to touch it. They're going to leave it as it is and let you keep asking for it.
I think it'd be perfect if in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, like, Filoni convinces Favreau to, like, throw a new species in there. It doesn't have a line. It's very, like, off-center frame. And then later on, after the movie comes out, Filoni's like, see that? That's a Bothan right there. And just, like, completely takes the air out of it. I think that would be great.
That would be really funny. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for your questions. And again, if you want to be a part of the show, head over to Patreon.
All right. Shall we get into the news?
We shall.
It's the Resistance.
All right. We are talking Andor, and that continues because, boy, this special look at Andor really got me hyped up for season 2 in a way that the trailer really didn't. So we get this 2-minute and 22-second clip that debuted on Disney Plus, since found its way online, since found its way to the Star Wars YouTube channel, and it is almost like a trailer / behind the scenes because there's a lot of footage in it. more dialogue in it. It really serves as a meteor showcase for season 2 of Andor. So some good quotes came out of it. I certainly have some speculative thoughts on it, but why don't we just kick things off first with you, Lacey. What were your thoughts on this special look at Andor for the second and final season?
Well, I first want to start with that I got so much hate online last
Oh,
week
God.
with the teaser trailer. And I understand why. I get it. I hear you. I understand that I was a little negative. I get it. I will answer with this was absolutely awesome. I loved every second of this first look, special look, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was exactly what I was asking for last time instead of a montage. It gave you story, it gave behind the scenes, which I love more than anything else is finding out how they did it. You know, the production of these shows is my favorite part outside of watching it, because you get to see all the work that goes into it. And I love the one clip that really stood out to me was Diego Luna saying that everybody there, they did their homework. And I love that. It's everyone's working really hard, because I think sometimes you hear, especially with Star Wars, people be like, oh, everyone really loves Star Wars. But the fact that he's like, everybody did their homework. Everybody went above and beyond to do what they needed to do to make this what it is. From costumes to visual effects to set design to location scouting to acting, etc., directing. And once again, I said this last week, it remains the same. This show is stunning. The DP did an amazing job. Directors are great. It's just, it's such a cinematic looking show that I think it looks better than almost anything that they've done show-wise for Star Wars. And we've talked about this before, John, that locations play a big part of that. Having real life locations that people are in actual environments and not in a volume speak volumes, so to speak. It really, it really matters, and it lets people be in a physical space.
Yeah.
I loved the use of weaving the narrative through not just the moments with characters, but also behind the scenes with Tony and Diego and, you know, all the other actors that they had in this. I loved this. This sold me. Not that I wasn't sold before, but it sold me even more. And I think it made up for what I was saying last week, which it was just a big montage. Like, this really shows you so much about what's to come and what to expect outside of just, hey, people say this show's awesome. Like, I don't want to see a quote from press or from someone else telling me that, like, this show's the best show I've ever seen. Because every quote that ever gets pulled is like totally hyperbole, like, nothing has ever been this epic before. And it's like, some people, write that just so that they get put in the video. We all know that. So let me hear from the people that made it. And that's what they did with this. And it is wonderful. Chef's kiss. I can't say enough about it. I've watched it so many times today. So I hope I made up for all the people that didn't like me last week. Maybe I'm now your friend again.
Oh my God. It was like
Maybe.
probably like 2 people.
It was more than 2, but that's okay. I understand. Everybody has off days. It was an off day. Sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'll just quickly say, like, I think it's perfectly okay to criticize, a marketing trailer from one of the biggest entertainment studios on the planet from the seat of a small podcast. Like, I don't think, like,
The funny thing was that people were really upset that I was so negative, but I was so negative that I was sad I didn't get more from it. Not that it was bad. I just said it was a montage. It wasn't a trailer. I said everything in it was great.
A trailer, like, who
I don't know.
cares?
It's okay. I don't mind. It hurt my feelings.
No, I know.
It's
I
fine.
know. Okay, I'm just saying. Solo. I love Solo. I thought the trailers were not very good.
Oh,
like,
I
it's
love.
okay.
You hate that one that's like.
Yeah, and I love Solo. It's just like,
I
guys,
love
it's okay.
that trailer, by the way.
It's okay. It's okay to not like a trailer. Everything's gonna be okay.
And the button switches. So good.
Yeah, that's fine. I probably like it more now. So digging into this trailer, did anything trailer, this clip, this behind the scenes look, first look, whatever, a special look, I guess they called it, anything stand out to you? Because I tried to do like a little dot connecting, so I don't know if you went that far with it.
I'm gonna let you get into it because I think you were 100% correct from your previous breakdown from the last trailer of what you think was gonna happen. I
Oh,
will say that once again, they're really leaning into the back. I hate to say it
yeah,
this way, but the back shots of
yeah,
these people walking away from the camera, uh, and like the turning around is really big in these trailers, which I understand. Um, but oh my god, I love the color of this, the shots, and look, I might be lame. Most thing I'm excited for, K2SO, seeing Alan and Diego in the cockpit together. I immediately my heart just like squeezed. I was like so excited to see them together again.
yeah.
I
That
loved
was
the
cool.
shot of K2SO pushing the guard away really hard.
Smacking him right off
Yeah,
the
that GIF came online
bridge.
and I was like, give me that right now. I tweeted it being like, this is me scrolling social media now, just like swiping away.
Well, yeah, that's like in in Rogue One when he sort of does that to Cassian, and he's like, I got another fresh one for you." And it's like
Oh
he
my
does that
god, that
times
was
10
totally
to the
ad-libbed. That's one of my,
yeah.
that's I think my favorite part of the whole movie, and it was ad-libbed by Alan. That's why Diego's like laughing because it was like totally ad-libbed. No, I'm just so excited because when they first announced this show and Alan was like, "Yeah, I'm not in season 1," we were all like, "What?" Because we really wanted it to be like, you know, the
I think he was initially
Cassian.
supposed to be, I think.
Right, we wanted it to be the Cassian K2 show, like buddy cop show, and they were like,
Yeah.
"It's not," which is fine. It was a great show on its own, but I've been waiting for it, and I'm really excited to see them together again. Other than that, what stood out to me was the intensity and anxiety of this trailer of what's to come, and how we're all gonna be heartbroken and see a lot of people die,
Yeah. Yeah.
which will lead into, I believe, what you're about to say.
Yeah, so I a few things stood out to me. I mean, there's certainly a ton to speculate on and talk about, but just the standout things for me, because we have a bunch of stories to get into, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds on just this 2-minute special look thing. But that wheat field planet, there's been heavy speculation on that. Last week, after watching the trailer, I thought that could be Dantooine, because that is where Mon Mothma eventually goes after making her speech, blaming Palpatine for everything. Her speech to the Senate, which I do hope is in season 2, and I think it will be. So we know the Gorman massacre takes place 2 BBY, which puts us in episodes 7 through 9 of season 2. So that's where I think you're going to get the Tarkin stuff. Then to start off the final 3 episodes, I think you'll get Mon Mothma speech. Then she goes into hiding, and we sort of get the connectivity on how she winds up where she is for Rogue One. But that Wheatfield planet that I thought was Dantooine, I think might be more at the beginning of the season, because you got Brasso there, and he seemingly looks like he's a farmer. He's got like overalls, and there's
He
obviously
might have fled
wheat.
somewhere.
Yeah, there's wheat everywhere, and there's like farming equipment and stuff. That's all a cover. Like that is some sort of hub, a communication hub, something for the cause. Because if you remember how that guy threw down at the end of season 1, that's not a guy who's like, I got to go off the hiding and become a farmer now. It's like, no, this is what I'm going to do now to help the cause. And then it clearly seems like the Empire finds out. He has to flee and run. There's a young boy and girl there. I'm not sure what that connection is. I don't know if we saw them. I don't think we saw them in Andor season 1. But
Mm.
so I think that might actually be at the beginning of this season. I think we've seen so much from the trailer and now this special look that is a departure from a lot of the other trailers we get, which is often like 80-20, like 80% very beginning, first 2 episodes, and then sprinkles of the other stuff that we say like, oh, this is the only scene we haven't seen yet, and we only have 2 episodes left, that sort of thing. With this one, I think we've seen so much of the whole season, that this might be what sets things in motion. And I think they're showing that there's these little pockets forming, and everyone who was introduced in season 1 will sort of have their own leadership role in these varying posts. And appears that, I don't think this dude's a farmer. So whatever he's doing here, there's more going on
He's
there.
running away on a speeder, yeah.
And the Empire's finally found him out, and then he flees. Sort of like on Lamu with Jin fleeing when they find the Ursos. So I don't think that's Dantooine anymore, because just logically, thinking back to A New Hope, when Tarkin's like, then name the system. And she's like, they're on Dantooine. They're on Dantooine. And they're like, oh, good. Let's go check out Dantooine. They clearly have already checked out Dantooine, if this was Dantooine, because there's the Empire's all over there. There's TIE fighters. There's stormtroopers. If this was Dantooine, then they would know if a rebel base was then built there. So I'm ruling this is not Dantooine. This is going to be a completely different planet that we don't know, that we haven't seen. But I think this will happen earlier in the season. And Brasso is clearly pretending to be a farmer, and he's not, because that guy is here to throw down. He's probably going to die, swinging his fists, going out like a badass. So that's what I think about him. The other thing that stood out to me is Cyril Karn. And I don't know why I didn't just really hone in on this earlier, because I think my early speculation on season 2 was that he's sort of going to be like a little weasel, like a hyena in The Lion King, who sort of gets away and runs away with mommy. But now I think he's going to be a turncoat to the Empire.
He's wearing brown.
Yeah, so just looking back to his experience in season 1, I know we talked about this then, but now with the landscape of season 2 upon us, it seems just more and more that this guy does not fit in with the Empire. And it was sort of like a stage mom thing, where it's like the kid doesn't want to be doing dance and wearing all this stuff, but the moms do it anyway. And his mom is pushing him to do this stuff, making calls so that he can get new jobs because he screwed up the last one.
With his uncle, yeah.
And then the very Severance type of thing, where he's in his cubicle and they zoom out and he's just one of a billion and he doesn't matter. All that stuff is going to click to him. That existentialism and maybe I'm on the wrong side type of thing is going to click. And he's going to help people out now, whether it's directly Cassian or someone else. And that shot of him in this special look of walking into that room with all of those security droids that are the K2SO model, I think Cyril Karn is going to be an integral part in the reprogramming, or at least the kidnapping, so to speak, or apprehending one of those droids to help reprogram it and become K2SO. So I think, Cyril Karn, there's so many characters in this show that they have to put closure to. That was the one where I was like, they can really sort of do anything with him. I ultimately really do believe that he is going to turn on the Empire, not in a big way. He's going to do it like a spy. They're not going to realize that he's doing it. People have always been sort of fishy about him anyway. And I think he's going to end up helping them. And I think his contribution is going to be with K2SO and bringing him into how we know him to be. So I think that, based on that shot where you got 6 of them on the couch and he's there in the door frame, I think that is his deal. And then the last, a lot of people are saying there's this one shot. I think it's.
Can I jump in really quick?
Yeah.
There is a shot at about a minute 3. I lied. Minute 3 in there where they have the camera tilts up and it's Cyril Karn and he kind of looks over like this, like he's watching someone. So I just want to back up what you're saying, that he's very kind of I'm not doing anything. What? I'm looking off to the side.
Like the parents
very
in Skeleton
suspicious.
Crew. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's being watched. And then they immediately cut to the next shot, which is those droids in a room with a bunch of people that look like they're being held there because they're all there wearing different clothes and stuff on the outside. And he kind of walks in. So yeah, I agree with you. I think what he experienced in season 1 is that they were like, you're an idiot. And he was like, I'm not an idiot. I'm trying to do the right thing and something's up or whatever. And they were like, no, sit back down. And then the way that Deidre really treated him didn't sit with him well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, you know what? I'm going to do something that matters.
It would also be cool if he like lies about Deidre to Krennic somehow, and like that's what gets her killed. Like I still think Krennic's gonna kill her, but um, and you make a good point. Like I have to go back and see that shot because I don't remember it offhand. I'm not looking at it right now.
He just
But
like does one of these. He's like looking up, and then he
the
like
side
kind of
eye, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And then also the big thing is he changes colors. Like his
Mhm.
clothes go more brown, which typically in Star Wars you have the Empire people are whites, grays, blacks, and then Rebellion is orange, greens, browns. Like that's kind of
Right.
their color tone.
That's
So
a
he
good point
changes that.
too.
And then his hair changes too. Like he has more of a wave to it in some parts of the trailer, whereas it used to be very kind of greased back, which is very
And
Empire.
I never really hated him for some reason. I pitied him. I felt bad for him because I felt like he was
He was
forced into
definitely a
this.
little just weird. He was very Dwight.
Yeah, like Cyril Karn, he wants to like play like eat his cereal and play video games and like maybe like write some new wave music in his with his
Shut up,
keyboard in
Mom.
his bedroom. Yeah, like he doesn't want to be doing this stuff, but he has no other outlet or no path. So I do pity this guy. And when I think about his potential path, I'm like, he's not going to all of a sudden become like this all-in Empire guy. Like they're already adding Krennic in. Like there's no room for this guy. That other old creepy dude is back. It's like I really think he has one path, and that's to become this sort of like secret turncoat, which would add a nice cat and mouse element from the Empire side of things, which will be nice. Then the last thing that stood out to me, I did not identify this myself, but a lot of people seem to be convinced, and maybe StarWars.com officially confirmed it. I'm not sure, but that one shot that shows Benthic, aka Two Tubes, is on a planet on Dakar, which we know as the main base used by the Resistance in the sequel trilogy, and apparently that's where the Partisans, Saw Gerrera's group, made their initial base after the Battle of Endor. So obviously after Saw dies, but and it says Magva Yarro joined. This was on Wikipedia, I think, about after the Gorman massacre, that Magva Yarro, who was there, saw the massacre, joined Saw Gerrera, and then I believe Magva Yarro will join the Partisans on Dakar, which will later lay the groundwork for Leia to pick that up as her base for the Resistance. So there will be remnants there from them that will nicely tie into the sequel trilogy, but not in a bang you over the head sort of way. And then the last thing, I don't know necessarily why I feel that she will appear, but I think that senator who is in Rogue One, and she's also in the Bad Batch, Tinra Pomlo, I believe that she will also appear in season 2. Obviously, after having potentially defected from the Senate after Mon Mothma's speech, that I really do hope we see in live action, because I think Genevieve O'Reilly would, you know, with the music and the way that stuff shot, seeing the prequel settings of the Senate or wherever she gives that speech from, that's going to be, if that's in this show, that's going to be a lot of people's favorite scene from the series.
And I'm
Like
sure they're
her-
going to parallel cut to like the massacre or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're
So-
going to cut to something happening, because they usually do that in those
Yes.
big kind of monologue moments. They cut to a parallel of what's happening behind the scenes, which honestly, I thought you were going to bring up the massacre thing, because that's pretty much been confirmed that they're going to show us that on screen.
Yeah, and they had to because of when it takes place. So
That's going to be so brutal.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of seeing a lot of innocent deaths. It's gonna be maybe a little reminiscent, but also a bit more graphic version of the Hosnian Prime disaster. Well, all
I
those
think it's going to be
people just-
worse, because
No, that's what I'm
Hosnian
saying.
Prime,
It's
it was
gonna be
just
more
like the
graphic.
planets blow up and that's it. You don't see anything. Like, yeah, they are showing the trailer, a guy getting shot.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, you know, we saw their faces of fear as that red beam was coming down, and they were all
Yes.
like huddling each other for 5 seconds. We're gonna see that, but on a grand scale here, and it's gonna be just brutal and
And
tragic.
Cyril Khan isn't is Khan. Oh my God, Cyril Karn is in the middle of the crowd in that scene while the TIE fighters are flying overhead and stuff.
He
He might get
that
caught
could
up
be
in
what
that.
Yeah. Here's a question though. At what point, because this is 4 years, so it's going to be year 4, 3, 2, 1, then Rogue One. At which of those sets of episodes do you think K2 enters the picture?
I think after that.
So you think in the last 3 episodes K2 shows up?
Yeah, I think they're going to save him until a point where they can get one of those droids, which would be that location. Because everything in this teaser trailer, unless they're misleading us, which is possible, the only time you see that type of droid is, first of all, you see Alan behind the scenes, but then you see him shoving the guard. You see them in the room. So it's unless he got one right before that, or that scene is after that moment. Like, I don't know how they would get one before that.
Right.
Unless Bix goes in and steals one, like we don't know, which I think that shot of Bix kind of power walking, shooting people, I think she's going to get that doctor. I think she's going to end up killing that doctor that tortured her. Or Deidre. It might be nice to see her kill Deidre, honestly.
That would be cool. That would be really cool, actually. That'd be satisfying.
But man, speaking of satisfying, this first look really was satisfying. I was so hyped watching this. I watched it multiple times. I thought it was great hearing from the people that are making it, seeing everything in action, just seeing the scale like they talk about in the teaser. They say, oh, the scale's crazy. It is. It's just so over the top awesome. And I can't wait. And I think I said this online. I strongly believe it. This show is coming at the perfect time for many reasons, not just Star Wars ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if that's going to trend to, higher viewership or whatever, but what we do know is, like you said, we are going to get a beautifully shot, beautiful looking Star Wars show. And I love some of the quotes, like the quote you brought up about Diego saying, like, everyone took their time, they did their homework,
yeah.
And you can tell. And I love that stuff. I also love that he said, this is the end, but have no expectations. And then I'm like, oh man, I thought,
I love how they ended with that. Have no expectations. Love that.
I think that's great, because there is a part of me who for a while has been like, man, we sort of know all the things that happen during this timeline, like the massacre and K2SO has to be like reintroduced, because it seems like they're gonna jettison that one-shot comic in place of this for how they meet. But a lot of these things, and we sort of know who's going to make it out and who's not going to make it out. But then the quote that stuck with me the most, of course, as president of the Tony Gilroy fan club, he said, revolutionary movements are spontaneously happening all over the galaxy. How those come together is the stuff of our story. So then you think about all those little seeds planted throughout season 1, and now we're going to see like what Brazo's doing with his effort and what this person's doing with their effort, and how they all of a sudden form together to really give you a tangible, real, it is a thing, Rebel Alliance that, Nemec was sort of saying, like, or was it Nemec or Luthen was like, you can't see it, but it's there. And now we're going to finally see it, because it's going to have a true identity that people can really start rallying behind. Even the people who were like, I don't know about this, against the Empire, once people start seeing that momentum and seeing real organization.
And all the death too, like what the Empire's capable of.
Then, right. And then the fringe people get on board, and that's when you really start getting going. Mm-hmm. So I agree. Amazing special look. I think they should do more of these. I would say even maybe in place of trailers, like, this really gave a lot. It had more dialogue, the perspective from the creators, everything, just
more
absolutely
hype.
Fantastic.
So much more hype. When you hear it from the mouths of the people that made the project, it matters more to me than what a press person said or what, this fan said. Like, I want Tony, I want Diego, I want them to tell me what they feel about the project, because they're the ones that put the passion and love and care into it.
And it also serves as a really nice reminder of how much does go into it. That one shot of whatever futuristic looking building they shot at in the UK, and they like those grand staircases, and there were real people on it, and then Genevieve O'Reilly's like, the scale, you can't even believe it. I'm like, man, Like, I forget sometimes, like, they just do massive location, massive sets with Andor, and I'm really excited from that angle of it. But quick self promo for us: the K2S show will be debuting on April 23rd at 8:30 p.m. East, right here on our channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcast. We'll be back live with you on the day after the premiere. We'll be back from Japan, Wednesday, April 23rd.
Exhausted.
Talk about the first, to talk about the first 3 episodes of Andor that hopefully we'll get a chance to maybe see on a big screen in Japan, but we'll find out. But stay tuned for more details on that. But just know that we'll be coming back live with you on April 23rd, 8:30 East, for the K2S show to dive into Andor Season 2. So join us, get with us, grab a t-shirt. We'll be putting those out, and let's have some fun. Okay, Lacey, next up we have Star Wars Celebration. We have the 4 major panels revealed. I'm not even going to start on this because you are the queen of Star Wars Celebration knowledge.
How about that? Don't say that.
And experience. But why don't you give us your thoughts on the 4 major panels revealed for Star Wars Celebration Japan?
I am so excited for Star Wars Celebration. I'm going to kick it off with that. I can't wait to go to Japan. I think it's a perfect backdrop for this show. The art show is going live soon, and I'm just so excited with everything that they've announced. That being said, I'm a little underwhelmed with these announcements, only because we had said a couple weeks ago that we thought they would do the typical thing, which is a Star Wars showcase. They've done that several of the celebrations where they kind of just run through what's coming. They make some fun announcements, etc. The panels they've announced are Mandalorian and Grogu, Andor, not surprised, Ahsoka, and then Visions season. This would be season 2 or season 3? Season 3. Yeah. Which all are great. They're wonderful. Can't wait to attend them. I'm excited to see what they have to say and experience it in the room. I couldn't be more pumped. I'm just a little surprised that there isn't some type of bigger showcase panel and or a TFA panel. Like, we're in an anniversary year of TFA and they're not even talking about it. It seems
no
like.
Revenge of the Sith panel either.
Or Revenge of the Sith. Yes, correct. Thank you for adding that. That is totally true. It's just weird to me. It's really weird unless they're trying to get all the stuff together, which I will admit from experience of working in events like this, sometimes the stuff hasn't clicked together yet. The puzzle pieces, as you said earlier about something else, haven't come together. People haven't synced up. So they can't announce it because they don't know if it's 100% happening. And they're not going to do it unless it's on a lock. Like, they've done it in the past where they've accidentally, done something too soon, or they did it before they had everybody involved. So it's just surprising to me that there's no panels here for other things that are coming, which get into our next story, which we'll get to in a second, with what Kathleen said last week. Like, it's surprising that they didn't have a bigger showcase panel. That being said, I am super excited for Mandalorian and Grogu, which is on Friday. I think it's going to be really cool. Hopefully Pedro shows up. We will see. I'm sure they'll bring the puppet, which will be a highlight for me. I can't wait. They're probably going to show us more footage because they showed a trailer at D23 and a couple other places. So now they're going to give us probably a more in-depth trailer, if not the trailer, because the movie's coming out next year. They might actually give us a real teaser. And Andor's coming out the following Monday, so I wouldn't be surprised if they show us an episode and or a couple episodes. I love how I keep saying Andor. And or it's coming up the following Tuesday, so they'll probably show an episode in the panel and or bring people back later to see other episodes with a special event or some type of premiere, like they did with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then Ahsoka, again, not surprising to me. Dave Filoni's there. All the other people are at the event already doing autographs. Like, Rosario Dawson's already there, so it makes sense to do an Ahsoka panel. I'm just interested what they would say about it at this point, but maybe they'll give some insight into where the story's going. But I know you have a feelings about these panels too, right?
I do. Yeah, a little bummed about no showcase. I think, it would have been incredible to see or learn about the next era, which, as Kathleen called it, Simon Kinberg is going to be launching the next saga. So we have Skywalker Saga, and then he's going to be writing whatever the next saga is. That would have been very cool. But without going through that whole list again, I think this really, to echo what you're saying, I think not having this has a lot to do with the changes that are going to be happening. So I don't think they want to do what they did in 2023, which is announce 3 movies, bring directors out, and then 2 years later, we still haven't really gotten anything tangible on any of them. So it might feel a little more like a 2022 celebration, but at the same time, 2023, like looking back, it's like it would have been a lot cooler of a celebration to look back on if those things were being made right now. Now, it's not to say that they're not going to be made, but certainly no updates after 2 years. But with
They
this
might
one,
have something at San Diego. You never know. They've done it in the past, so that's what I'm drawing from my own knowledge on is they might not have things locked in yet, so they can't announce it here. So they'll hold it until San Diego. They did it with TFA back in 2015. They had Anaheim.
Yeah.
They had a whole panel with the whole cast there, except Harrison Ford because he had just had his accident on the airplane. They then brought him back for San Diego that summer and did a whole concert with John Williams. It was like a big thing at San Diego Comic-Con. And I remember being like, oh my God, why wouldn't you have John Williams at Celebration? But, it's all about press, and San Diego does get a lot of press. It is surprising that they wouldn't do it here. Also, this panel schedule to me is very reminiscent, interestingly enough, of 2016 with Rogue One, because that show in London was very focused on Rogue One, and that's all they really wanted to talk about. That's what all the marketing was. That's, they had a big Death Star balloon thing in the foyer. It was just like very much Rogue One, and that's the news that came out of that week or that weekend was the teaser trailer with Darth Vader in it that ended up I don't think they even aired it.
Yeah.
So, which was the end scene from Solo with the trees, was also in that trailer. It's just surprising to me that here we are again with a similar project with Andor, that they are really focusing on a specific thing that's locked, which is Andor's done. Mandalorian and Grogu is in post-production, so it's basically done. And then Vision Season 3, done. The only thing that's kind of in progress is Ahsoka, but that's pretty locked as well.
I don't think they started
I think
filming
you're
yet.
right. I think they're not. What, for Ahsoka?
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying I think it's locked though because Filoni's going to be there. Like, I don't think they're never going to make Ahsoka. I think they're always going to make Ahsoka's getting made. There's nothing that's going to stop Ahsoka.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I think going back to what you're saying, it also adds understanding and weight of they don't want to talk about anything that's not locked, that's not done, that's not in a production room being edited,
Yeah.
and or
that's
already
fine.
completed.
Yeah. I do think if people are being honest, they saw those 4 panels, and at least I was like, really? That's it? And I know that sounds, like a spoiled brat in a way, but these celebrations are dedicated to this one movie franchise, and people go there for these opportunities to see first looks at things or hear about new things from the people making them. And I am very hyped about the Mandalorian and Grogu panel, because now that takes center stage. Like, obviously Andor is coming out, so that panel is going to have a lot of buzz with that show coming out. But then the first Star Wars movie since the end of the Skywalker saga is coming out in 1 year, and Jon Favreau is bringing us a panel. We're definitely going to get a teaser for it, and probably a lot more, because I really think, because we're not getting a showcase, they need to deliver with that Mandalorian and Grogu panel to create buzz. How they do that? Maybe Favreau gives us a trailer that melts our minds. But that's what I'm hoping for out of the Mandalorian and Grogu panel. Ahsoka, I don't know what they're gonna do beyond, maybe they'll pay tribute to Ray Stevenson. Maybe they'll shed some light on where some of these characters are going.
They might
Um,
announce who's replacing him.
I think that's been reported. I think it's the guy from Game of Thrones. Didn't
Oh, I
Remy
thought
talk
that
about
was just a rumor. Was it official?
that?
It didn't come from Lucasfilm, I'll say that.
No, that's true. That's true. So we must
Maybe
be
they'll
careful.
bring him out.
Yeah, maybe.
That could be something they do. They bring him out and they explain the process. Or
Yeah, Rory McCann is being
What's
heavily
next?
reported to play Balin Skoll in season 2. So maybe they will announce that while paying tribute to Ray Stevenson. But also they got to be filming soon, so maybe, and Dave has to be at Celebration, of course, and John. But for Ahsoka, more so like Dave has to be there. So I bet they're gonna say like, we start rolling cameras next week. We fly right from here back to Manhattan Beach or wherever, UK, wherever they're filming Ahsoka season 2, and cameras are gonna start rolling. And here's a message from Rosario Dawson. Is she going to Celebration?
She is.
Oh, well then, yeah, she'll be on stage, and everyone loves Rosario Dawson. So that's all you need to know for Ahsoka season 2. They got Rosario. Perfect. I love it.
Hayden's
and
there
then-
too, so they could bring him out and talk about his
That's true, too.
scenes in season 1. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too. I am curious to see what, some of the other panels that come out that are non-lottery, but it seems like these are the 4 big ones that
Which you'll get a poster at each one.
that merit a lottery. So I don't think anyone should expect a bigger panel than this. So I don't think they're going to come in late with hey, now we are going to do a showcase. I think these are your main ones. It is a shorter celebration, 3 days. But it's going to be great. I'm really excited to see Favreau coming out on stage, just like showing us what they put together, and Ahsoka and Andor too. I think the Andor experience is going to be really great because everyone's hyped for new Star Wars. It's sort of how people felt when Obi-Wan was coming out during the Anaheim celebration. There was a lot of really good energy there. So I think that'll be the same for Andor. And then, it's not all about that stuff either. Sometimes I like those smaller panels. Like I was always fond of like seeing Ian McDiarmid, telling stories, or Anthony Daniels telling stories, because these guys aren't going to be around forever. And I think Anthony Daniels just turned 79 or 80 or something like that. And it's like, you got to cherish the fact that these original actors or creators are still here and sharing stories that, if they don't share them, we may never learn about them. So like, pay attention to those things too, because we take for granted that Anthony Daniels is here and Ian McDiarmid's here, and you start looking at those lists and you're like, they're not here anymore. Like Peter Mayhew's gone and Kenny Baker's gone and Carrie Fisher's gone. And it's just like, cherish the OGs being around, Billy D. Williams and stuff like that. So if they pop up and they do these small panels, don't skip those panels, or at least check one of them out. Just my thoughts anyway, as the existential sentimentalist. But so then our last story we will move on to, unless you had any more you want to talk about on those panels.
No, I think this leads perfectly into the next story, which is the Kathleen Kennedy stuff, which, by the way, this article came out the day after we recorded last week, and we were both like, well, we kind of all said this, so it is what it is. But I'm excited to talk about some more details that she kind of, as we've been saying a couple times here, locked in.
Yeah, so Deadline got the exclusive. I'm sure Kathleen Kennedy's hand was forced here because she reveals it in this interview that she wasn't planning on revealing this for a few months or potentially even later in the year. That she confirmed that, yeah, they've been talking about who's going to be replacing her, that she will be leaving within the year, and that stuff is already going on behind the scenes in terms of finding the replacement. I think there was like a big mass amount of confusion in not understanding the difference between someone leaving a position and the word retire. Like, that's what people got hung up on, because Puck puts out the story that
she was just leaving.
That she's leaving, and that this is what's going on, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. And then other outlets said Kathleen Kennedy to retire. So then Kathleen Kennedy has an opportunity to be like, I'm not retiring. How dare you? This is all false reporting. I am leaving as president, but I'm not retiring. What are you talking about? So we had heard in so many reports that she was going to be still producing films even after she leaves. Like, she confirmed almost all of that stuff. The only thing that she staunchly and clearly said was absolutely not true was that there was upheaval and chaos and she's being pushed out and they don't know what to do. She said that couldn't be further from the truth. Believe that? Don't believe that? I don't care. I believe her. Kathleen Kennedy's been in the
We
business
both
for a
said
long
that.
time.
We said that she wasn't being forced out. She was doing it on her own
Yeah.
terms.
So
Yeah.
so this all got all twisted up and spun up because people don't know how to read, or I
Not
don't
even
know.
that. I think people want confirmation of their biases and of their expectations and of what they think. So they take what piece they need out of a sentence and say, "See, told you."
On any side of it.
Anything.
Because
Yes, anything.
I was just as annoyed by the people who were like, yeah, finally she's gone and stuff. I'm like, you guys are, and then, but then there's the people like, see, that story was total bogus because she said she's not retiring. It's like, does anybody
No, but she's still
read
leaving.
anymore?
Yeah. No, they don't.
She sits there in that interview and says, yes, it is true. I am leaving within the year. And that's what that report had said. The only thing I think that Matt Bellany at Puck, like, I don't think he's any fan of Kathleen Kennedy because he takes shots at her a lot. And I don't know necessarily why, but she said it's not this mess or chaos and that Lucasfilm's on fire and stuff like that. And I don't think that it is either. I just think, you know, she's looking to move on and do other things. There were reports from other people saying she was initially trying to look last year when her contract was up to start a certain production company, and that didn't work out. But she's going to stay on to produce Star Wars movies. And that alone should tell you that she's not being forced out, because you don't force somebody out of a job and then be like, but we want you to stay and still do this. Like, remember when Michelle Redjwan, like, she lost the job of VP of live action development? Like, she had that job and then she lost that job, and then they were like, but she's still going to produce movies for us. I haven't heard of her name again. I don't know. Like,
I would leave. Yeah.
Yeah. So my point is, like, she's not being forced out because she's still going to be staying on to produce these movies. If someone was being pushed out, she would not be staying on to produce some of these movies.
That'd be so awkward. Just hanging out.
She's getting into her 70s. She did a long run with it. Frank Marshall has aspirations. They want to work together again on stuff. They're a married couple for a long time. I get that. That all makes sense to me. This is not like some sad thing for Kathleen Kennedy. She might even end up being relieved, you know, after a while. Maybe there is burnout.
I mean,
on her
I would
end.
be.
Like, you know, yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine. So, long story short, Kathleen Kennedy confirmed the reports, albeit correcting some elements of it, that she is leaving. It's likely going to be at the end of this year, and they're working on who's going to step in, and who that is, we're not sure. But like I cautioned last week, if you were looking for Kathleen Kennedy to leave and you're happy that she's leaving, it doesn't guarantee that whoever comes in is going to be better for you. So take that as you will. But Lacey, any other thoughts on this story that really shouldn't have been
such
that
a big
big of
story? It's so weird.
She's
Imagine
not
having that
retiring, but she's
power
leaving a
that
job.
like someone hears like, hey, you're moving on, and they're like, there's like an internet upheaval of like, yeah, and like, no, at the same time.
Right.
You're like, I just what?
Yeah.
Honestly, the stuff of her leaving was not surprising. We talked about that in detail last week and a little bit here, obviously. We both said she was leaving on her own terms and she wasn't retiring. She was just leaving the company, and it's okay. We support whatever is decided, and we understand the transition out. We also look forward to someone new stepping in, because we haven't liked every single thing that's happened with Star Wars. And new can be good. So that's
Yeah.
how we felt about it. I still stand by that. The thing that stood out to me in this article wasn't all that stuff of her leaving. I honestly, it's her business. It affects me in the sense that it has to do with Star Wars, but it doesn't at the same time. Was the announcement about the Simon Kinberg stuff, and specifically the Sean Levy stuff. Like, she said, yep, it's happening, and it's the next thing that's in the line to be made. Which we had heard previously reported that was happening, but it didn't come from Lucasfilm. So this officially came from Lucasfilm, that Sean Levy's thing is happening. It's the next thing in line. Here we go. So I look forward to that.
And she said that's going to be 5 to 6 years after Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
Kinberg's trilogy is also going to be after Rise of Skywalker, starting the new saga, which she said that's going to be the new episodic thing. And she touched on Mangold and said he's still working at it for that prequel.
And Taika.
And Taika, it seemed like she was like, I don't know. Like,
she
I
said
don't know
he's
what-
getting a writer, right? She's like, he's working on a new with a new writer.
She's like, yeah, it's hard to reel in Taika, sort of thing, is what she said.
But then guess
so-
what? No Ryan Johnson.
She
No
did not
mention of
mention
him.
Ryan Johnson, right?
Which take that what you will. I'm not celebrating or not. I'm just saying, like, it's really weird that you make this big announcement with someone and then they keep going, yeah, I'm gonna get to it, and then it's just like crickets.
She also didn't mention, or nor did the interviewer ask about it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Donald Glover, Lando.
Nope.
Yeah, so that's troubling to me. But I did like, she was very, like, this interview seemed different to me. It seemed like she was a little angry, as I would be, because
Yeah, I would totally be annoyed.
yeah,
Like-
yeah, and she has every right to be, but in that sort of I don't want to say anger, but maybe frustration, she was more like candid. And she's like,
I
sort
think
of
she's
probably
annoyed
like-
with having to even talk about this because if I was her, I'd be annoyed that someone at the company is leaking this information.
that, but also I think she's just tired of having to be the good soldier all the time.
Defend
like,
herself, yeah.
Take all the flack, never pumping her chest out to like take all the credit. Like, she's handled herself like such a pro, and like people I think take that for granted. Because certainly some executives don't do that at all. And I like the fact that she was just more candid. She's like, yep, here's what we're doing. Like, she was like, if you really look at this stuff, she was way more just candid about all these details about these things that we've been sort of waiting on. Like, when is the Sean Levy movie taking place? And she's like, 5 to 6 years after Rise of Skywalker. What else do you want to know? Oh yeah, that's going to be our next movie. Simon Kinberg,
Which is even
new
more
saga.
reason why, which is even more reason why, though, it's weird at Celebration that they're not having a showcase panel.
Yeah, I really think it might have to do with these things are just not even close to production, so they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot in case something happens.
Like
So they're
2023.
like,
yeah.
they know they have a movie that's in the can with Mandalorian and Grogu. They know that Dave's making Ahsoka. Like you said, like
Yeah.
Ahsoka's
That's what-
definitely
yeah.
happening. So I think they're going more this year with the, these things are happening or they're here, and let's celebrate that. And
The
then
safe choices, yeah. The
we can
TFA thing
hit-
is weird
hit the
to
other
me,
stuff.
and Revenge of the Sith is weird.
Yeah. Unless, like, what if JJ, they were like, do you want to do a 10-year for TFA? And he's like, I'm not ready yet. Poor JJ. All right. Anything else on Kathleen Kennedy speaking out?
No, I'm ready to get into hear what everybody else thinks about things.
Okay. The Andor theme continues as we head on to our next segment.
All right, guys, it's time for the return of Resistance Transmissions. For those of you that don't know and are tuning in for the first time, first of all, welcome. Second of all, this is Resistance Transmissions, which is my favorite segment of the show that we've been doing for many, many years, where we hear from you guys. So the way that it works is John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on Blue Sky now. And you guys give your answers. And I don't know what the scenario is. I don't know what she said. And we read them live and have a good time. And it's my favorite segment. I've had many a laugh from this. I don't know if this is a laughing one. Maybe not, but that's okay. It's not. Okay, great. Proving that I don't.
We have to get back to doing some silly ones for sure.
Yes. So the situation is that Andor, a Star Wars story. Is it a Star Wars story?
That's the whole thing. All of a sudden now with season 2, it's back to a Star Wars story.
Anyway, debuts in 7 weeks. Wow. So that means 7 weeks till Celebration. Well, 6 really. What are you looking forward to seeing happen most in this season and final, or the second and final season? First up is Andrew Staley at Andrew Staley. Way to get your handle, Andrew. It is, he says, definitely looking forward to seeing how director Krennic interacts with the characters from season 1. Hope we get to see Galen Erso cameo. I'm so sorry for my answer earlier, Andrew.
Oh, so yeah, low key way to get your handle, Andrew, because I think he was like Deuce_Staley on X.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it amazing how we remember these people? Everyone's like Twitter handles or whatever. Funny.
We remember because we care. I
Well,
take
Andrew,
pride in the fact that I care about the people that listen to our show and comment.
Andrew's TRB familia.
Yeah, I'm just saying in general, like I very much know who I'm speaking to online, and I try my best to remember people. And but please, in advance of 6 weeks from now at Celebration, if you come up to me, at least give me something, name, handle, something to work with. Because sometimes people come up and go, "Hi," and then they don't say who you are. Like, give me some little bit of intro. Anyway, Ingenious is up. What up, man? At Ingenious Blue Sky said Mon Mothma and the Ghost Crew appearances. Oh, so we think we're getting a little Ghost Crew.
Maybe Hera, because she was mentioned in Rogue One. Chopper.
Mm-hmm. Media Sandwich. At Media Sandwich.
That's a funny name.
Becoming partners with K2SO. Hoping for a 1-episode midnight run with a droid. Love it.
That's the buddy cop thing that you were talking about, Lacey.
I
that we
love
were all
it.
Sort of hoping for.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
More 5150 at more 5150. What up, man?
So this one was on X. Michael's not on Blue Sky.
Hey,
we love Michael. Had to get Michael in there.
He said, seeing K2SO again. Agreed. Next is Cal Baker. He's in here twice today.
Big day for Kyle.
Big day for Kyle. Kyle, this is your episode, man.
I had to include this. Look at this one.
Kyle says, I really don't need everyone to show up, and I'm not expecting it, but I'm hoping to see Aaron Kellyman back as Enfys Nest in some small capacity.
That would be incredible.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And then we have Shadow Gear and Amulet at Shadow Gear on Blue Sky. The Gorman Massacre and its aftermath. Man, Shadow Gear, really? You want to see a lot of people dead? With some possible connections to Rebels if they want to go that far. Okay, I get it. You're like a Rebels fan. You want to see that connection. But man, I don't know if I'm going to handle this massacre, John. It's, you know me. You know what I'm capable of watching. I don't.
The question is, though, if the massacre doesn't happen, does the rebellion become what it is? And the answer
I'm
is
not saying
no.
it doesn't happen. I'm just saying I don't want to see it.
No, I'm not saying I know it happens, but I'm saying if it didn't happen, maybe the rebellion doesn't happen.
You mean maybe Mon Mothma wouldn't have stepped up and like the whole kind of
people witnessing it,
snowball.
hearing about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Great answer. We'll see how it goes, Shadow Gear, but I am not looking forward to watching that because it is heartbreaking. But guys, thank you so much for your answers. We really appreciate it.
K2SO love. I forget how much that
K2.
droid is loved.
I love he's my favorite part of Rogue One, I'll be honest.
So is he there? Is Alan Tudyk going to Japan? Did they reveal?
I don't know, but I wouldn't see why not.
Be.
Yeah, he definitely is, because they're going to bring him out. Not at first. They'll bring him out. They'll let Diego come out first, and then they'll bring him out. Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And back to you, John.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching, being a part of TRB. We did all the plugs at the top. But do spread the word about the Resistance broadcast. If you have friends or family, classmates, coworkers who like Star Wars, just say, hey, there's this podcast. It's a good time. I like these people. They like Star Wars. I like Star Wars. Check them out. Look up Resistance broadcast on your podcast app, YouTube. We're there. We're a good time.
Share and review, please. Yeah. And if you want to like really be awesome, you could sport some TRB merch. TRB
That's true. I can't believe we didn't say this at the top. TRBpodcast.com. Lacey, what do we have on there?
So I just brought a photo up for the people listening. Thank you for listening. How's it going? It's our TRB Tokyo collection, which is a lovely purple version of our logo with some Japanese symbols underneath, which is really cool. And they're all kind of travel friendly. We have a t-shirt, we have a packable jacket with a hood in case it's rainy. We have a travel crossbody bag. I did tell people on Discord it's a crossbody bag, and they're like, why would I need a body bag? And I'm like, no, it's like a purse kind of travel bag for adventures.
They're gonna need a
Anyway.
lot of body bags at the Gorman Massacre. That's for sure.
No, stop.
Oh,
But yeah,
sorry.
head over there if you're looking for stuff from us, and it helps support the pod.
It does. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm actually excited to rock the purple TRB in Japan. But yeah, thanks everybody so much. Big special shout out to our generals and spice runners on Patreon. The generals: Carmelo, John Risi, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra. Sorry, Gary. Also, by the way, Gary finished his latest fan film. So we got to talk about that when he's done.
Oh my
we gotta watch
gosh, I would
that.
love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe have the zebra on the show. We'll talk about his movie.
Ooh, Gary.
Gary's awesome. Dave Hornack, Colin Cormier, Stephen Garrow, Sachi, and Darth Snips, and the Spice Runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, the Fort Worthian, and newest Spice Runner up from General. It is the very funny, always in our YouTube comments or Discord, Brian Smith, now a Spice Runner. Thank you so much, buddy. And good timing, because we will be bringing back the Spice Runs soon, getting those back into our rotation. So we're excited to eventually do one of those with you. But thanks to everybody, however you support TRB. It really means a lot to us. I always say this, but I think sometimes people think this is like what we do full time, but it isn't. We both have our own day jobs that we do. We have families. There's a lot that we do, and your support, however you support us, allows us to keep this train rolling, and we want to keep going for a long time. So, or not train, unless it's like a Convey X. I'm just trying to make it Star Warsy. But anyway, Lacey, where can people find you to talk to you about all these stories and anything that they want to chat with you about?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. As we start to get closer to Celebration, I'm going to be posting tips and tricks there and kind of things, memories from past ones. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your support. It means a lot. Like John was saying, this is something that we record late, get up, work early, edit late every week because we love doing it. And you guys are supporting that dream of us hopefully eventually doing it full time. But right now we are not.
Yeah. We'll make it when we're like 80.
No.
But yeah, for me, Johnny Hoey on Blue Sky, on X as well. That's where I unleash my hell now. And my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We're going to be doing Step Brothers next. I'm excited to do that. And then Nerdy and Nice with this one here. Me and Lacey every Monday. We're already in the 40s for episode counts for Nerdy and Nice.
Insane.
We've done a giveaway. We may, after Celebration, have more time to get into new segments. We're just getting started with Nerdy and Nice. So if you like stuff other than Star Wars, whether that's the comic book stuff or TV, pop culture, all the other stuff you can nerd out about, that's the spot for you, Nerdy and Nice. So thanks to everybody who's been listening. And if you haven't yet, give it a shot, because
all my obsessions and
Have a good time.
hyperfixations are on that show outside of Star Wars.
It's a good time. It is a good time.
Yeah.
All
Obsessed
right.
with Severance right now.
Yeah, I got to get after that. But I've been doing
I'm
some movie watching.
obsessed.
I'm going to give my thoughts on Anora on Monday, and then potentially the next week, The Substance, because I wanted to see who really did give the better performance. But we're not big awards people, but we will touch a little bit on the Oscars results on Monday, among other things. So check out Nerdy and Nice. But for all you Star Wars fans, you know it. We'll be back with you next week, as always, with another episode of the Resistance broadcast. So we hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Set those clocks forward. Let's get more sunshine in our lives, as maybe two suns. Maybe when we set all of a sudden we'll get two suns like Luke when we set the clocks forward.
I'm good with one. I'm good with one.
Yeah, especially, you burn pretty easily. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We love you, and we'll see you next time right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.